Hi, it's John Chisholm from Crescent Management Centre here. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of our Learning Bursts. In this short video, we're going to look at team communication plans. So here's an example of a team communication plan. I've just put a few bullet points at the top, which I wouldn't normally have on the plan, but it's just a useful reminder to give you a sense of what it is that give you a sense of the purpose of these. So the aim is to improve team communication. And so there is, so we experience day to day less confusion, less misunderstandings, missed messages, whatever. Obviously, therefore, it helps us to kind of build trust and collaborate and work more effectively as a team. So I've got a worked example of a team communication plan with you here that I'd like to go through. But just before we do that, I've put on here a few bullet points just to give you a sense of what the point or the purpose of this is. So by having a team communication plan, the aim is to improve team communication, and that means reducing confusion and trying to eliminate misunderstandings and missed or mixed messages. Obviously, that helps us build trust and work together. It's aimed at increasing efficiency, so reducing gaps and reducing duplication of work maybe, which hopefully improves things for the team, but also for customers as well. And it helps to define or redefine terms of reference for all the meetings that you might have for your team or teams. So what is and is not covered in each. Okay, so there's a number of questions that we need to ask ourselves while producing a team communication plan then. And you'll find these across the top. So these are really simple and straightforward things to do. So what are the messages that we want to share? Why are we sharing them? Who is it for, the message? What communication method are we going to use? And what direction is the communication and timings? They're less important, I guess, but actually you might find them useful just to kind of appreciate that they are characteristics of effective communication. Okay, so if we jump in the middle somewhere, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is that there are so many communication methods available to us all now because of all of the different devices and applications and so on that we've got. So you might have like a project management tool that has a chat function, or Zoom or Teams or something like that has a chat function. So what, and it has documents and so on. So what are we using for what as a team? Because there's so many different options and variations available now. So the communication methods in my worked example that I've used are WhatsApp, and then underneath that emails, and then a couple of examples of different meetings. But actually whatever ones you choose and whatever you use, then fine, it's whatever's available to you. And like I've just mentioned, there's a lot of choices available. But rather than thinking and starting with what communication methods we want to use, and you might want to start there in terms of like what's the easiest, or what you find best, or what you have signal for, what people can access remotely or what have you, that's fine. But actually I think if we're doing this as a little bit of a planning exercise, it might be useful just to consider, actually take a step back, day in, day out, what sorts of messages is it are there that we're sharing with each other? So I think there are day-to-day small urgent operational issues, for example on the top line there. We're sharing it just for quick fixes, for efficient communication. Maybe someone's not able to make a meeting, or somebody extra is coming to a meeting or something like that. It's just like for those immediate little messages. And I've gone for an example of WhatsApp, something like that. Timings for that is that they are continuous. It's something that we're going to use on a minute by minute or hour by hour basis. It's two-way, but the other characteristics of that communication are that it's quite simple messages. You may drop a picture or something like that in there, but generally it's probably just text, and it's quite short and quick, and that's the beauty of it. So that's really great. But what messages is it for? And we've all had that experience of writing a message in something like WhatsApp or whatever that actually ended up really long-winded, and it should have been an email or it should have been a phone call. So those are the sorts of things that we're looking to kind of plan around and plan for, so that there's less confusion and less problems for the team. So the next one is emails. Email obviously is ubiquitous now, people use it all the time. But again, we can have lots of different email accounts and so on. So it's about choosing exactly what email platform we're using, Outlook for example, or Gmail, or whatever it may be that is best for your business and your team. But actually, what are you doing in there? So the messages we're usually using email for is discussing and sharing and progressing work in progress. So it's stuff that we're actually working on day to day. It's typically for sharing documents with a lot more detail or links to things or what have you. It might be for all team members, or it might be for certain team members, for example. It's two-way communication. It's more kind of hourly, kind of daily. So what are we using email for, and what should not be an email? There's lots of ways of using email where it's not going to build trust. I do see people kind of passive aggressively copying in other people's managers and things like that. So we can use email in the wrong way as well. So it's worth thinking about what the sort of stuff that we don't want in terms of team behaviors and building trust or eroding trust or what have you. So it's not just about tasks, this stuff. It is about effective team working in all aspects of that. The next example I've got then is something like a daily huddle, or it might be a weekly briefing or something like that. It might be face-to-face, it might be virtual, it might be based on an agile style of project that you're running, or maybe it's just in a retail environment or in a manufacturing environment where you just have that 5-minute, 10-minute quick briefing, often at the beginning of the day, but sometimes or beginning of a shift or something. And what is shared usually, I've put it down as one way, because usually for huddles, it's a manager or team leader just briefing people on safety and on work in progress updates or resource or people issues that are pertinent to that shift or that day, and that's it. It's not a discussion. If people have got any questions, that's fine, but it's not a discussion. And so who should come to that? It might be a specific trade or specific roles. It might be certain team members. It might be all your team. But whichever, this is a plan. So at this point, you should jot down who should be at those, when they are, what we cover and what we don't cover. Keep them really short and neat and punchy, and they definitely improve safety, and they certainly should improve team working as well. And if you don't use those so much, or you've not found them effective, then have another go. And the final example that I've got on my team communication plan here is for a monthly team meeting. Might be face-to-face or virtual. It's certainly two-way, monthly. It might be fortnightly or whatever, whenever you have your team meeting. I think the key with these things in terms of team communication is, what exactly is it? And this is where you get more into the detail of your day-to-day information and communication flows. What is it that we should be covering and not covering during that monthly meeting? So, for example, it's likely to be planning discussions, decision-making, problem-solving discussions, sharing project progress in more detail, and reviewing performance data, financial data, etc. So, obviously lots of things that's all going to be relevant for your business. But by having clear terms of reference for that meeting should give us a sense of what we cover at the daily meeting, the weekly meeting and the monthly. So there isn't that kind of constant overlap. And so where we're working efficiently and more effectively as a team, we can actually say, look, we get into a discussion via email or on the phone or something like that with a colleague or a team member and say, look, let's keep this one for the monthly meeting and stick it on the agenda there and then so you don't forget. And it just stops you having those interruptions and those distractions at work. Like during the working day type of thing. So I've just jotted that down under why are we sharing this to save things up for this meeting to avoid unnecessary interruptions. We do a whole training course and a whole session on effective meetings. They can really make or break a lot of people's experience in work, and there's a lot of stuff that's discussed and talked about, and certain cultures that seem to just everything's a meeting, and often it's not really necessary. So I would say try and eliminate all of the unnecessary meetings you possibly can, and this is part of that planning process for as managers and senior managers, being confident that we're covering exactly the right stuff and none of the wrong stuff in each meeting. So we're keeping them really focused. It means we can make the meetings shorter and more punchy and less sort of wandering, really. Another quick idea in terms of meetings is, and I've just jotted it down under who's it for, is to cover specific things at specific times in meetings for people in a particular role. So if you've got a 2 or 3 hour monthly meeting and you only need certain members of your team doing a certain role there for half an hour, then just keep them there for that half an hour. They don't need, the amount of time that we can all waste sitting through agenda items at meetings that we really shouldn't have needed to be there. And all of that, again, is just the antidote to that is effective planning. So that's it for team communication plans. I hope you find it useful. Obviously, these are just illustrative, so you'll have to kind of work this out for yourself. In terms of the use of team communication plans, I would be looking at doing a communication plan like this for a project or for my teamwork ongoing, probably just reviewing it every kind of year. This is about half an hour, 45 minutes of work to plan this and review this plan, with a view to saving way more time than that across the year. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like and comment, hit the bell icon for notifications of future videos.